In this video we're going to talk about casting and converting types. So I have a console app. I've named mine Casting and Converting Types, and if you go to Solution Explorer, you just double click on program.cs as we've done before. It'll open up this file, and you want to type your code. If you're following along with me, make sure you're in between these curly brackets in this method called main, static void main. And I know we haven't covered methods yet, so if you don't know what a method is, that's okay. We'll talk about them later. Just make sure you're in between the curly brackets. Okay, so sometimes what we want to do is convert or change one data type to another, right? For example, we may want to change an int data type to a string, right? And how would we do that? And the most common way is to call this toString method. I'm going to hit space. Just go ahead and comment that out for right now. Okay, so this variable, if I hit dot, right, just press the period, we see the members of this variable. And so why does it have members? You know, I just assign this variable, this literal int 5003, so this got assigned, dropped in this box. So why would this have members? And to fully understand that, we have to delve into object-oriented programming, and we're not going to do that right now. So right now I just want to introduce you to the idea, the concept that everything has members, and the way you access those members is with the dot, with the period, right? Just press the period, and you access those members. You could also hit Control Space, and it should bring up, we can see the members for the program file itself here. But if we just get to the right of the variable, we can press dot, and we'll see its members. And everything has this toString member, right? It's toString member. And I don't want to delve too deep into what the members are and why those members. So just introduce you to the fact that everything has members, and they all have this toString, right? This toString, and this is a method. The purple box indicates a method. A method just does something, right? And we'll talk about methods later. So this is a method, and what it does is converts one type, whatever the type is, to a string, right? Converts it to a string, and how it does it depends on what it is. So it's different for different types, right? So let's go ahead and bring this back. So here we're going to call this method toString, which is going to convert this to a string, right? Remember, this is not a this isn't plain text here. This is a number. We can calculate with this. It treats it as a number. But if we put quotes around, these double quotes around it, now it's a string, right? And it's bucking on me because I've declared this variable as an int, and I'm trying to drop a string in there. I'm trying to put dirty socks in the box that only takes food, right? So it's bucking on me. But so this is a string, literal, right? But right now but it has to have the quotes, right? So this is sort of like putting the quotes, this toString. Think of it, not really, but you could think of it as it's putting the quotes around the number, right? So essentially that's what's going on. Okay, so it converts this number, which is an int in this case, to a string, and assigns it to this variable, which has been declared as a string, right? And same sort of thing here. Here we have something called date time, and you can take a guess at what the date time does. It gives you the date and time, right? So, and this date and time has its members. Press dot, and you can see its members. Today, these are properties. This little icon, little hand there, these are properties, and these are methods. A little purple box, right? So, you know, what's the difference between a property and a method? Think about a car. What's the properties of a car? Color, whether it's 2-door, 4-door, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder. You know, these are properties, attributes, things about the car. Whereas a method would be go forward, go backwards. You know, parallel park, right? You know, some cars parallel park themselves now. So So it does something. So a property is an attribute about it. A method does something, right? So these are its members, you could say. And this now gets the date and time now, right? And these are its members, right? And you can play around with these members. I recommend doing that. It's the best way to learn programming, just to play around, right? So okay, so this is now gets the date and time now, and this is of type. We'll see the type here. If we hover, we see it says date time. That's the type. That's the data type. Just like int, string, bool. That's a data type, but it's a data type that's within the .NET framework. Within the .NET framework. The .NET framework is part of it. Is this vast library of types. There's a whole bunch of types. I have no idea how many there are. There's a bunch of them, thousands and thousands of types, data types, right? And these are custom types, or complex data types, right? These strings, int, bool, these are long, these are basic, built-in, predefined, primitive data types. And whereas these with the teal color, these are types that are in the .NET framework. Right, they're data types, and they're more complex, and they all use some of these basic primitive data types. Okay, and we'll talk about the .NET framework, the .NET class library, in another video. So for right now, just know you have this. This is the data type that's in the .NET class library. It gets the date and time, obviously. But we want to convert it to a string, so we're going to call this toString and convert it to a string, and then assign it to this variable, which holds a string. So I want to set my debugger. You can click over here or just press F9, either way. And I'm going to click on the green button and run the program. And okay, so it ran. The program's running. It just stopped right here. And let's go ahead. We see this variable has the number 5003. Let's go ahead and execute this line. So it just executed this line. This number is 5003. It converted it to a string, right? And now we see the quotes, right? You see the double quotes around 5003. So essentially, it put those double quotes around the number. It made it a string, right? So let's keep stepping. And this is going to write to the console, and there we go. Now we can see the date and time. It converted that to a string, so we can only print strings to the console, right? So it converted that to the string, and then the right line just wrote this string to the console, right? And the read line's just waiting on us to hit enter, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. Okay, so I've set another breaking point here, so I want it to stop here. And let's get this comment in. Okay, this results in true. So now I'm using another type in the .NET class library, and this is called convert. And this is a static method. If you have no idea what a static method is, that's okay. We're going to talk about those later on. So this is a static method, right? This convert has its members, right? And I actually go ahead and stop that. Alright, let's look at the members of convert. I'm just going to get to the right of it, type period, and you can see its members. This is convert, the members of the type convert, and there's a bunch of them. Yeah, 2 decimal, 2 double. Yeah, these are .NET types. So these are its members. One of them is the toBoolean, which converts a string that says true or false to a Boolean value, right? So go ahead and run this again. Alright, so it's going to stop right here. So we see we have this string. Well, how do we know it's a string? Because we have the double quotes, right? So we're going to keep stepping, and it converted that this string, this is just a string. And we saw earlier that we can't assign a string that says true to a boolean. So it's going to buck on us. But we can use this convert and this method to boolean to convert it to a boolean, right? And that's what it did. Alright. Okay, so I've ran it again. I have the breaking point here, so I'm stopped right here. And let's look at this converts. The convert it's another type in the .NET class library. There's a bunch of them, and again we're going to talk about the .NET class library later on. What this convert does, it has these static methods. If you have no idea what a static method is, that's okay. We'll talk about those later on. But this static method called toBoolean, it has a bunch of other static methods. This one converts a string that says true to a boolean, right? And it's got to say true, the lowercase t. Or actually it may, I'm not sure if it'll take an uppercase t or not, it may. But it's going to convert a string that says true to a boolean true, right? This string is just plain text, whereas the boolean true is is a boolean true, right? So let's keep stepping. So it converted this to the boolean false, right? So we see that's the boolean true, and we can see these in the local also. My bool. This is of bool type, and it now has a true value. And this my bool 2 has a false value. So it converted that string. Remember, we can't assign the string to a boolean type. It's going to bark at us, right? It's got to be a boolean. And so booleans is true or false, right? So it converts the string, which is just plain text, to a boolean type, right? So let's keep stepping, and here we have a string. It's declared as a string. It's just one letter, and we're going to use that convert type again. Another one of its static methods called toChar, and that converts it to a string. So we're just converting a string to a char. So now this is a char. Note the single quotes, right, as opposed to the double quotes. Single quotes denotes that it's a char, right? And moving right along, and we also have the .NET will do something called an implicit conversion. Let's say we have this int, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we assign this int to the long. Well, we don't have to explicitly convert this, because a long type is plenty big enough to hold an int type, right? So it's going to convert this type for us. This is implicit conversion. So it's going to implicitly convert this int to a long, right? And actually this should be long here. So implicit conversion to long. So it implicitly does it by itself without us telling it to convert it to long. And it may do this with compatible types. And this is a good example of that. And okay, so this time we're going to convert a double to an int. This time it won't do implicit conversion, because say if you want to convert a double, which is a number that has a decimal value, to an int, it's a number that doesn't have a decimal value. An int cannot have a decimal value. So if you want to convert a double to an int, then the C# compiler is going to bark at you and say, hey, wait a minute, if you do this, you're probably going to lose some of the value, right? So if we want to convert a double to an int, we have to do it explicitly. We have to do a cast. And the syntax for a cast is we put whatever type we want to cast to, we use this int, right? So it's a little different from conversion, because there's a chance that we may lose some of the value, right? Or we're casting the type or the value to another type, or we're casting one type to another type. So we have this double, which has a decimal value. We're trying to convert it, change it, cast it to an int type, and And so if we do that, we're going to lose this decimal part, right? So, but here we do it explicitly. Here we're saying, I realize that I'm going to lose this decimal, but that's okay. I'm cool with that. You're telling the compiler, hey, just calm down. It's all good. Just go ahead and change it to an int. I know I'm going to lose some of the value. And look what happens with the int. Notice the int is 5925, right? And down here in the locals, 5925, that's the value it has. Well, that's a different value than this 5925 dot and the decimal value there. So these are two different values, right? So it truncated the decimal value in order to change it, cast it to the int, right? So, but you have to do this explicitly with this syntax, the parentheses and the type you're casting it to within the parentheses. We're doing this explicitly because we got to tell the compiler, hey, I know I'm going to lose some of this value, this decimal value, but that's cool. Yeah, I'm good with that, right? And casting only works with compatible types. We can't cast a string to a date time, for an integer to a date time, right? Or a double to a convert, or something like that. There have to be compatible types. Okay, so that's it for this video, and kudos for hanging in there, and I'll see you